Good day. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Yes, in spite of all that we're going through, all the dislocation and rearranging of our lives, all these new terms we've had to get used to, social distancing, self-isolation, quarantine, things that were not part of our usual life, but they have become so. Even with all that, we can rejoice because God is good and we still have many blessings in life. And that's what we want to think about today. In spite of all the stuff around us that may not be ideal, what do we have within us that we can still claim and celebrate and rejoice?
Hello everyone! Easter is considered the most celebrated event on the Christian calendar. It is a reminder that Christ died and arose on the third day.
During this holy season, may we be reminded of God's love for us all. My wish this Easter is that God blesses the entire Bahamas.
Let us hold firmly to the faith. Let's join together in prayer for the church, for our nation, and for the world.
He is risen indeed and will live forevermore. Have a happy, happy Easter.
Let's pray. Lord, speak to me, speak through me. May your truth be heard. May our wills respond and our hearts obey. In Jesus' name, amen. We're going to read a few verses today from the Gospel of Matthew. Many of our hearers and congregation know, and our scholars of the Bible refer to chapters 5, 6, and 7 of Matthew as a sermon. We call it the Sermon on the Mount. It's a collection of teachings of Jesus that have been put together in one place. And his conclusion of this sermon, right at the end, in chapter 7 of Matthew, beginning at verse 24, this is what Jesus says. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who builds his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall because it had foundations on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rains came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Thank God for his word. Pray that our hearts will be open to receive its truth, that we might be encouraged and strengthened as we live for him. So here's this familiar story. It comes at the end of this sermon or this collection of teachings. Jesus has gathered his disciples on the hillside, and they move up a little higher, and a large crowd is coming up as we read at the beginning of chapter 5. And then he teaches them. But interestingly, we note that as he begins his teaching, those who are closest to him, his disciples who are following him, gather nearer, and the rest of the crowd's a little further away. In the Message translation of the Bible, the way that's put is, Jesus' apprentices climbed with him, those who are learning from him, those who are seeking to do what he does. And that's who I hope we all are. Those who are good disciples, learning by following, by emulating the Master. And what he says at the end of this sermon is that everyone who hears these words and puts them into practice is wise. Notice the other group of people. Those who hear the words and do not put them into practice are foolish. What's the difference? The hearing of the word is the same. The words we hear are the same. The difference is entirely in what we do with what we heard. Do we put them into practice? We're wise. Do we ignore them and go our own way? We're foolish. And he uses his illustration of construction of a house that will fall, that will stand in storms, as a way of reminding us. We have to build our lives on that which is solid and good, strong, that will help us when there are times of challenge and difficulty. And that's certainly what we're in now. We just got out of Dorian a few months back, and we have other things that face us. Individually, many of us go through challenges and difficulties, but this one is affecting not only us as a nation, but all the nations of the world. The whole planet is under siege by this coronavirus. And we all have to rise to the challenge to be able to overcome. And how will we do that? If we have within us, and we've listened and paid attention to what God has taught us, then we have that strong foundation. So that even when the stuff assails us, even when things around us aren't in the best condition and circumstance, what we have within us can sustain us and strengthen us and help us get through. And that's what Jesus reminds us of here. The words he gives us. And that's not only in the Bible, although that's certainly a source, but God speaks to us in different ways, through people, through experiences, through creation, through the beauty of the world around us, through stuff that happens that maybe in the moment we don't realize it, but later we reflect and think, well, there was a truth to learn, or there was a promise of God we can claim. And so however God is speaking, however his words come to us, we need not only to hear them, but we're reminded we need to put them into practice. That's what makes the difference. Foolish people hear the same words. They're foolish because they don't put them into practice. And there's a truth that the Bible teaches us over and over again. What we reap, we will sow. What we plant, that's what we will reap in the harvest. So we can't expect to live a life based on all sorts of other things and then reap the benefits of being in God and in Christ. We have to be firmly grounded in what God through Christ teaches us. Jesus reminds us, if you hear these words and put them into practice, you get a strong foundation that can withstand most of what's going to happen to you, and you'll be victorious. May God bless us, strengthen us, encourage us, and uplift us. And through all these challenges, as we hang on to his word and hold tight the truth we know and put it into practice, he will see us through.
Happy Easter. Have a happy, happy Easter.
Have a wonderful Easter.
Happy Easter to you and your family.
Let us pray. Lord Jesus, we thank you for who you are and for all that you teach us, for the truth you give us that can strengthen our life. Thank you for the words, however they come. Help us to be strong and wise, to put your words into practice so that our lives can be strengthened to withstand any storm. For who you are and for you help us to be through your grace, we give you thanks.